Welcome back to Tuesday Night Lights number 2. We had an abridged first series, but now we can officially start the best of sevens. Had some tech difficulties, but we are starting roughly on time, and that's cool with me. That's how Tuesday Night Lights usually works. But we've got a guy in the booth with me that you've seen on the field, but maybe not with his camera on in the caster booth. Skyline, you're making your caster debut on my channel. Not the official caster debut, but on my channel it's your debut. How you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to these matches that we're about to see with UTSA and George Mason. I'm expecting a banger of a match here while we're kind of waiting for everyone to get in. But no man, I'm just enjoying it and having a good time while doing it.
Heck yeah, I know you've been hitting the grind a little bit with in terms of casting, so I'm excited to have you here on stream. I usually do have you on stream just on the Rocket League pitch, so I can't wait to hear your insights into the game. But how have you enjoyed casting so far?
Oh, it's been great, man. I've luckily been able to have a lot of opportunities. I've been casting for our B team at ETSU here, and then I got to do an RLCS cast for Almost Nuts. You know,
Nice.
T-Krell, Skippy, Repeat. Got to do it for them boys, and it was very fun to watch them play. You know, unfortunate that it's fortunate we made main event. Unfortunate that they fell out in 16th in main event,
Yeah.
but you know, it was a fun time all around. Just kind of watch them do their thing and get to cast some high-level gameplay like that.
Right, they put on a show in RLCS, so I'm hoping now, looking at UTSA and George Mason, that we can have a show put on for us, because this is a GMU that have made a roster change, as Adapt is coming up from the Academy team. So that's a shift. Titanium is now the coach of this roster. I think this is still a good George Mason roster, maybe not at the same heights that they were in the fall, taking on a UTSA that is Salt, Roxy, and Nico. I'm not sure if this is Jexy, just in a different name. But no Turanturo, which it was a possibility tonight, but did not end up happening. I know he's busy, may not also want to play show matches, but either way, UTSA decent. I think they're fighting an uphill battle here, Skyline, against George Mason.
Yeah, George Mason, like you were saying, with that new roster change and Titanium getting moved to coach, but Dev staying on the pitch and getting one started out early within the first 25-30 seconds of this match, as a nice little self pass off the side. All Roxy was just backwards and made himself too awkward to reach that, and that's the first goal on the board for this series, going to GMU.
And fast start for George Mason. This isn't their debut, I believe, with this roster, but I know they're trying to get reps in with Adapt taking the spot of Titanium. You know, I can respect a player knowing when to step back and still contributing to his former roster in a coaching position. It's exciting to see. George Mason, always an exciting roster to watch. Joined the SEL in the fall and looked pretty good there, but right now it's pretty much all Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, they're having strong field presence. As you kind of see Adapt there trying to take control, trying to show off a little bit of his mix as well, you know, getting that debut with the team. You said not necessarily his debut as the roster first, but definitely here on the Tuesday Night Lights, we'll get to see him in action and see how well he contributes to this team as UTSA being the new roster going into the SEL and, you know, not playing with their main boy tonight and Turanturo. They're going to be trying to prove themselves that, you know, it's not just Turanturo on this team, but these guys can put together something as a whole as well.
Absolutely, and I mean, so far I was worried, I'll admit it, when I don't know too much about a roster that I know isn't playing with their superstar on the field, and they concede as much possession as UTSA did in the early goings of Game 1, I get concerned, but so far they're building decent attacks down the George Mason end, and nothing's resulted in a goal so far, but if Nico and Salt can really take command on the pitch and set up what they were setting up a little bit ago, UTSA is very much in this thing.
Agreed. I mean, we've seen a lot of high ball plays here, just a lot of pinches and pops going up to the high ground, and you'll see some of the GMU boys trying to read that off, and it's worked so well for them as, you know, they're just trying to hold on to that goal lead, but they're going to want to try to make some magic out of it as another one goes up, and JM's going to try to get a pass off to the middle. Is anyone going to be there for GMU? No, that's going to fall short as UTSA on their back line still being able to hold off for just enough.
Awkward moment, though, for UTSA. Roxy has to step in and help out at the last second as Ball was causing all kinds of confusion on their goal line. So George Mason, no second goal just yet, but it looked close a couple of times. Dev off the side wall will nab 100 in the corner, and watch as Jay gets a chance here to stop an escape for UTSA, though it's Adapt that ends up ultimately getting that touch at the midfield line to keep this possession going.
Yeah, UTSA, they just look so panicked right now in the backfield as GMU's just trying to put all this pressure on, and it's working out well, but they're not able to find the net yet, just given that kind of 2-goal lead and a goal buffer. It's just, you know, in that case they get scored on by UTSA, they can keep that lead with only 2 minutes remaining, but GMU, again, still putting on that attack while UTSA just trying to get on their own half.
Finally a way out, though. UTSA get that clear and have followed it up nicely with a challenge on the sidewall, and Salt as third man, stepping up at the midfield line. This is an opening now for Dev, and Roxy is not quite ready for it. That ball was going far side. I couldn't tell if it was in or not, but it was close enough to cause a bit of panic.
Yeah, nice little passing play there off the back wall for Adapt, you know. Filling in those shoes pretty well, I would say, that Titanium stepping down and taking that coaching position. He plays a nice little pass off to Dev, and even though Dev had low boost, he's still able to place a nice shot over the last defender in UTSA. So that's going to give them that 2-goal lead that they wanted in that goal buffer, just in case UTSA can pull off a goal.
Had to work for it, though. They've been stopped a couple of times now after opening up the scoring in the first 30 seconds, I believe, of game one here, but George Mason just won since then, and this is an opening for UTSA. It's just straight in. A good 50-50 take-in that will get UTSA on the board.
Yeah, I mean, just an unfortunate pinch from UTSA and GMU, excuse me, as Adapt. He was trying to play a 50 there to keep it on the UTSA half, but the better 50 coming out from UTSA, and Roxy was kind of contemplating on stealing that, but that one just rolled in, and UTSA getting back within one, but is it going to be enough to send them to overtime, or is GMU going to take it right back as Dev getting his 3rd goal of the night and a hat trick already in the first game of this series?
Those are the moments right there where UTSA, if they're still missing awkward balls like that in transition in this series, they're going to lose. But if they can clean up those moments and at least put up a fight against George Mason, enough to interfere with plan A for GMU in the offensive end, then this is going to be a close best of 7. But right now, down by 2, they're fighting from behind, and it's a decent look for the Roadrunners. Nothing scored, but it's good offense. And Nico, if he finds that demo on Adapt on the goal line, maybe there's something there. But instead, it's just George Mason scoring their 4th, and Dev has a hat trick.
Yeah, I mean, Dev is just putting up insane numbers for this GMU roster right now, and he's been their main leader, as we saw with his scoring abilities, and it's definitely showing off here as he's put up now pretty much all their goals. I'm pretty sure it has been all of their goals, which he has 4 out of 4, and I think he only has 3 shots from what I saw as well. So he's, you know, playing above expectations right now.
Ooh, redirects will test the defensive capabilities of Adapt and Jay. Dev can take some time off. Actually, Jay only has 92 points. George Mason is up by 3 goals with Jay sitting on 92 points. That's a bit absurd, but it kind of sums up how well Adapt and Dev have stepped up this game.
Yeah, and the big question going into this game was, is Adapt going to fill that role well? And I would say so far he has. He's playing a nice amount of passing plays, like one right there, back to Dev, and that's just going to be left as you see Adapt trying to get a goal on the board, but leaves it for JM just playing the smart play, and a 5-1 win for the Patriots in this game 1. Now UTSA, they got to try to get some momentum back heading into this game 2, or else this might be a quick series, MrBepic.
I hope it's not. I know the Roadrunners are coming in as big underdogs, but I hope they can find a way to step up. And largely, I think their issues were just in transition defense. And hold on, Adapt is rocking a profile picture that was just released to the public like an hour or 2 ago. That is a fast change of the Steam profile picture of me posing with my snowman friend.
I mean, hey, it's a good looking picture. What can I say? He's got good taste.
That's crazy. I mean, he sniped that quickly. Respects. Look, I didn't get to follow George Mason Academy very much last semester, but Adapt has already won me over. I am a huge fan now. He's going to elevate GMU top 8 CRL minimum.
Oh, agreed. Maybe even, number one, I think Adapt might win
Yeah.
it all just for them and get the 1v3 plays going. Sorry, Dev. Sorry, JM. You're going to have a new player coming and shining on this roster a little bit too hard that y'all get overshadowed.
Hey, I think they're all right with that. If the success comes, I think they'll be okay. I mean, we saw a willingness to let goals go and give the player with a better angle on the ball the opportunity to finish. I think it was Adapt actually doing that on the fifth goal. But regardless, this GMU team seems on the same page early on in its stages as a roster. So glad to see it. It's always there's always an adjustment period when you're playing with a new guy in the lineup, especially when you lose a player as strong as Titanium was. So glad to see GMU doing well.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to the boy Tihan, who's been putting together this roster here and there, and he's the one that's kind of behind the scenes that people don't talk about much, but he's done a lot for this roster as a wide open net miss from JM. And unfortunately, Tihan can't control those kinds of touches, but he's still, like we said, put together a good roster, and he's made sure that the GMU boys, they get what they need and they have a good time while doing it. So that's all you can really ask for when it comes to these kinds of events and just esports in general.
I mean, keeping the Tihan love going real quick. He's not the guy people talk about a lot, but he does do a lot of the talking for GMU. A great player manager. You always love to see managers that are as forward-facing as Tihan is. Very supportive. Seems like he's always there watching the matches of George Mason. And right now, I'm probably not too happy with how this first minute and change has gone for George Mason, especially with that attempt on their net, as they come up short a couple of times in offense. Very close to scoring that opening goal, but still coming up short.
Yeah, I mean, UTSA, after that 5-1 loss last game, they're trying to do everything in their power to make sure that they get the pressure back on in this game and try to hold on to it, as you'll see a lot more passing plays. The bump attempts come out like right there, and maybe some shots up high that Nico just can't reach past the last defender. But they are doing everything they can to ensure that they at least can get a lead in this series. But right now, it's just kind of relying on whether or not they can capitalize on their opportunities, which they just haven't yet.
Now UTSA gaining more opportunities in that GMU half. Nico off the side will elect to solo play this, and it's challenged by Jay off the backboard. Not a whole lot of boost, but still a good position for Jay. Roxy now places a shot bottom right, or I guess it was more mid-right. Adapt got the save either way and has put a monstrous flick on target. Sorry, that's Dev with the monstrous flick on target. What a counterplay that was.
I mean, you gotta talk about the shot, but you can't also forget the defense.
That's
Adapt
true.
there getting a nice save. That looked like that was gonna get sniped right behind the last defender, but he gets a nice little touch there to send that one out. And Dev taking all the time he needed with it. And like we've seen from last game, he has been the dominant hand of the three in order to get these goals for them. And he has not stopped. He is on fire right now with these shooting attempts.
Hey, I'm sure they want to keep that up. Dev will try again. A little cheeky ground pinch. I think it was more of a ground pass instead of shot. But either way, it doesn't pan out. UTSA doing a better job of stopping George Mason this game, at least the first half. That can't all come crumbling down. The majority of the Patriots' goals in Game 1 came in the second half of play. So they had that same kind of resurgence. UTSA need to find a buffer soon, because if they wait a little bit and George Mason gains steam, this series is just going to get that much more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, GMU right now, they're just keeping that mid control, which is something that a lot of people talk about whenever you want to win these series, is whichever team has more mid control usually ends up winning. So GMU making sure to keep that press on by keeping that mid presence as well. And that's just kind of what allowed them to get more control of the ball, create more opportunities than UTSA, who has been struggling just to get out of their own half. I mean, they looked strong within the first minute, but ever since then, they've just been kind of struggling to get back into this one.
And you would think with 3 GMU players committing for the same midfield ball and all flying past it, that would lead to a guaranteed UTSA counterattack, but they still can't find a way out. Despite that, it has been a struggle working their way out of defense. But when they do string together some decent challenges, there are moments they look like they can keep pace with George Mason, but still a goose egg on the board. Just the 1 goal scored in game 1. Again, it's a stop for GMU. Jay's going backboard with this, but Salt is there. Not a banging clear back down the other side of the pitch, but keeping control, securing boost. It's a methodical play for UTSA to break out here.
Yeah, now they're going to have an opportunity as the bump's trying to come out from Nico, but not able to connect with JM. So Salt, he's going to try to take a controlled shot, but, I mean, it's just a swarm of GMU defenders on that back line. So even when they do get that pressure onto the GMU half, you have at least 1 or 2 guys there that have just been phenomenal on the goal line to ensure that they don't get a goal scored against them. So our GMU, essentially, are they going to be able to hold the line long enough before UTSA can get another one? Because that 1 goal that they had in the first game, it seems like that might be the only one they can get this series with how dominant GMU's looked.
It's got to fall eventually. I mean, they're doing a good job catching out the first couple challengers of GMU on a couple plays, but Jay on the backboard has been indomitable, and that will be almost an assist. Nico, great block on the goal line, will keep UTSA in game 2 here, and a favorable bounce will continue to keep them in this. But Jay can end things, and he will with a spike off the sidewall, and it's not the 5-1 victory that George Mason had in game 1, but 1-0 counts the same at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a win's a win, and that's all that matters to these George Mason boys. But UTSA, they did look a lot better. Still stuck on their half a lot, which is something that they'll need to work on and make sure that they take over that midfield. And so GMU can't do what they've been doing this past 2 games. But, I mean, I have faith in UTSA to at least get 1 back, if not more. They just need to ensure that whenever they get that mid-presence, that they, capture the moment that they have and score those goals that have been coming to them so often that they just haven't been able to find the back of the net for.
Really, that is what it feels like. It feels similar. I don't know if you got to catch any of the Purdue-Louisiana series, but this is kind of how it started out for Louisiana. They were hemmed in. It didn't feel like their offense was having too much success when it came to consistent pressure, but once they started actually hitting on just a few counterattacks, it was 2 or 3 per game, but their defense would make enough clutch saves on the goal line to get them game wins and overtimes played. So for UTSA, it feels like that's got to be their win condition, is an effective counterattack game. And here we go. Not exactly a counterattack, but off kickoff, it is a possession establishing sequence for the Roadrunners that they almost score on, though George Mason still quite good in defense.
Yeah, I mean, George Mason, like we kind of said earlier from last game, their defense have just been so superb as they've just been saving ball after ball from going into the net, and now they're trying to put the pressure on themselves as a little bit of mishaps, bumps here and there, but it won't matter as the new guy on the team adapts, finally gets his first one of this series as he gets a nice little touch pass to, and then the third defender just can't reach that ball in time. He's going to put that one top left to give him the 1-goal lead in this game 3.
And look at him slotting in so well to the 1-2-3 play as well. Those passes all across the board, and adapts the one to polish it off, and couldn't make contact on that one, but Jay had done enough off kickoff. That ball just goes in. Oh, as Salt misflipped.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw that earlier from Salt as well, so
Really?
I don't know if it might be a controller issue that he might be having, or if he's just trying to switch things up because, with these kickoff strats that you see teams trying to do, it is something that teams have done where they try to slow down the kickoff and then maybe try to play the ball just a little bit off to the side to see if they can get a better 50, but, it's just not working out that well as JM able to get a good read there and give him the 2nd goal within the minute of this game, and maybe a 3rd one here as JM goes for the shot, but it's crossbar down and the 4th man strikes again, but Salt, he is the first man on the back line and he's able to get that save for the UTSA Roadrunners.
I can't believe that there was no one on the goal line for that long for UTSA. That 2nd shot was even allowed. They've got to find a way to get back to defense a little bit quicker, especially now. Nico's got no boost, and fortunately for the back line of UTSA, so did Jay, and Adapt flow on boost as well. Tried to take the play over, but just ends up bumping Jay and not doing a whole lot with the ball, though. Secondary opportunity now for George Mason is effective enough at spacing UTSA apart defensively, but at the moment, they are pushed back upon. The Patriots are, and will counterattack the other way, will be stalled out, and I think we all need a deep breath after all the chaos that's ensued on the field.
Yeah, I think the newcomer and Adapt, he's trying to do as much as he can to show off in his debut on this Tuna's Night Lights, as he's trying to take over shots that we saw from his teammate as he bumped his own. But again, another kind of missed touch there as Dev was going for the shot, and I believe he might have added if Adapt didn't try to go for that drop down. But JM might have one there, but Roxy gets a good touch out, and UTSA just kind of forced to play some Gibbs ball here, just sitting in the back line, you know, waiting in the net, just playing defense and not able to get one out, as Nico had a chance there but wasn't able to reach the pass.
I like Jay's thinking right there. Go for the redirect off the sidewall, as there's not an immediate shooting lane on target. Adapts quite with the ball on frame. There's a 50-50 taken. Easy or tough to get on target, I suppose. So George Mason just content with possession here. Nico will try to interfere with that. Roxy the follow-up player, but ultimately it's Salt that's required to really get UTSA on the offensive side of the ball, although GMU a bit awkward, still will maintain control, and again, it's just pure chaos on the field. No one feels completely set on the pitch at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's been back and forth the past couple, minute or two, as UTSA, again, they're kind of just looking to get a goal on the board. Game one, they got that one, but it was kind of just a slaughter, then 5-1. And second game, you see they get one goal in, but GMU, they're just taking over this series as Adapt, again, putting one in the back of the net from a great pass from Dev off the pinch. Roxy was in the right position, but just couldn't get the read quick enough in order to block that pass, so that's going to be a 3-0 lead for GMU.
And it's the same thing I was talking about earlier for UTSA, where those types of play can't happen. Roxy has to make that read in the corner, or else they're giving up a freebie to George Mason, essentially. And their offense in transition hasn't been effective enough, obviously, with the 0 on the scoreboard, to make up for those defensive mistakes. So Roadrunners have a tall test ahead of them here, just at the end of Game 3, because you feel like this is a must-win game for them. Maybe to get some momentum in the series, but hey, 76 seconds left, and UTSA finds themselves a goal. Maybe this is the start.
And UTSA finally able to put one of those passing plays home, as Nico gets a nice little bounce off the sidewall, or sorry, the back wall, and he's gonna have a man there to follow it up and finish it home. So, you're 2 goals down, still a minute 16 in this game. We've seen crazier things happen, so they have the time to make something happen. The question is, are they going to be able to, or is GMU just going to keep dominating like they did in the first couple minutes?
Ball is in their court. UTSA have offensive agency here. Setting up Roxy with Nico running ahead for 100 boost, but they've intercepted that ball at the midfield line, and that blows things up for the Roadrunners. Adapts, no shot allowed, but again, it's just good space gained by George Mason. They're wasting clock. They're keeping control on the field effectively, although that's a team bump. Awkward play in the midfield will give an opportunity to UTSA here, and off the backboard, Adapt can't keep control. Dev can't either, and so Roxy and Nico go to work in the corner, and it's awkward, slow Rocket League, but it turns into a second goal, and UTSA are right back in this thing.
Exactly what I was trying to talk about in that game too. What they need to do to open up that space is get the passing plays flowing a little bit more and have that second man be ready for it. And just like that, Nico, another passing play off the back wall to his teammate, and that's just going to go right in the net. So 1 goal difference. UTSA finally showing some life in the series as the passing play coming out again, but the own goal, unfortunately for GMU, to tie this game up, as I don't know who that was. I believe it was it was Dev.
Yeah.
He's been so good of a striker this series, but I didn't know he'd be striking on his own net.
Too good of a striker is what Dev is, apparently. Tihan, you guys don't have to throw for content here. A sweep is okay, but they are still tied, so it's a chance for Dev to make up for his mistake, although Jay has taken away that possibility. And Adapt not firing on his own net, but close to it, found Jay, and now down the field, puts a shot on. Roxy, though, finds a save. Rebound is no good. Roxy comes up big enough to send us to Game 3 overtime.
Yeah, UTSA finally putting together what we know it can do. It just looked like it was a little bit of a slow start to the series, getting some warm-up games in, but now they've showed what they're capable of, and they're trying to show that not without Turner and Turo, they're still a solid team. So Salt right now is going to try to take that one over Dev, but Dev is just playing that midfield so well, and Roxy trying to get a shot over, but JM on that back line is going to ensure that they don't take the win in this Game 3.
quite yet, but that's a center ball and a somewhat open net, but Nico streaks across the field to intervene. Now Adapt. Solo play to win it all? No, not quite. All right, Roxy shut that down before it even became a thing. And we'll set up UTSA for a shot on target. Stop by Jay before it registers. Nico, no follow-up chance, and Roxy again on the goal line has to come up big for UTSA, but they do so. Dev, center ball, as pre-jumped Adapt and can't get back to the ball. I love the ambition, though.
Yeah, and we see Roxy, after he had that mistake earlier of not being able to read it on the corner, he's been so strong on defense these last couple minutes, getting the goal line save in the 1v1 situation to force overtime, and then another goal line save in a 1v1 situation in overtime. He's been very dominant trying to keep them alive, and now is kind of relying on whether or not Nico and Salt, they can put up some passing plays like we saw earlier in the regular time. But Adapt and the GMU boys, they're doing everything in their power to make sure that UTSA don't get one back in the series.
What a touch. Jay doesn't get that double. That's probably a Salt shot on target at the very least, or more effective play from UTSA, but now sets up GMU with a chance to maybe win things, at least possession. Two orange cars in the corner will contest Nico, who gets the first George Mason player there on the scene, but not the second. Dev can't get through Salt there on the crossbar, and Jay passes the ball back mid. Adapt to Jay, down to Dev, and stopped by Roxy again. That is so many saves here in Game 3, and it keeps UTSA with a chance to get on the board before having to reverse sweep.
Yeah, GMU just doing everything they can, including the three-man passing plays, which looks so beautiful. But it doesn't matter if UTSA is just there to defend it, and they're going to try now to put on their own counterattack, but GMU just, again, holding that midfield so strong like they've been doing this entire series. UTSA have been somewhat able to break it as they're going for a shot here, but Adapt with a diving save on the back line is going to keep them alive in this overtime.
That's well done. George Mason still can keep the sweep dreams alive. Would still have to execute in Game 4, but Game 3 is hotly contested because Roxy's been so good on the back line, but there is beaten by a couple of George Mason players. Dev and Jay wanted things over and done with before we hit the 3-minute mark, and that still could be the case, but Dev needs a goal ASAP, and that's a cleared. Will be demoed before he's allowed to maybe end this game immediately. Adapt out to Dev. And Salt, first for UTSA. They've done a much better job controlling the midfield line and giving themselves chances to win in overtime here. I still think George Mason have the more effective offense, but the Roadrunners right now, I think, have the most agency in their offensive zone than they have the rest of the series.
Well said, Bepic. I mean, UTSA, they have just looked so strong at being able to put on offensive pressure, and I do agree with you saying GMU is the better team offensively, but UTSA has looked really good, especially with the passing plays this game, and I don't want to say that this might be, you know, the RLCS record for longest overtime ever, but it kind of feels like it with how long this is going. We just haven't seen many opportunities, and whenever we see them, it just feels like always someone on the goal line, whether it's UTSA or George Mason, to be there and in that way. So maybe we'll see a defensive masterpiece from both teams, or is the ball up and finally cracking something.
Well, the boost game has been largely won by George Mason, but UTSA have done a decent job making sure they have the resources necessary to stop this attack of the Patriots, but again, low on boost, so no immediate clear, and that high ball is not going to help things for UTSA. Those Salt full boost tank got one interception, a 50-50 the midfield line. Jay back to the play, though. I guess didn't get a flip right there. Didn't feel confident enough to make a play on the ball using that flip, so we'll just keep playing overtime. Almost 5 minutes of play here in Game 3, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're just getting an extra game for fun, watching this one in. And UTSA, this is something that they need to win if they don't want to be forced to a reverse sweep. But George Mason, they're looking to force the forward match. They got to put something together as Adapt goes for the shot off the ceiling, but Nico's there, and now the counterattack ensues as JM gets demoed. Salt going for the 50. Another demo comes out from Nico, and he has been the bulldozer for this team, opening up so much space, but just no capitalization from UTSA as they have just been stuck on trying to get that last goal.
Going up against a brick wall right now, it feels like. I mean, it feels like George Mason is going up against a brick wall on the UTSA goal line, and then the other side to the midfield line. But regardless, Adapt finally found a way through. Dime of a pass right here. Dev set him up for success with that control out of the corner and beat Nico as the first-man challenger from the defensive side. That's where that win comes from right there. That extra little touch to beat the first man up in the air. So George Mason eventually get the game win.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw there, Adapt just beating out 2 defenders in the net for UTSA. Both of them were pretty much low to 0 boost. So getting that availability on the edge of, just having that space, even though it was just the tiny bit that he had.
Yeah.
I mean, it was more than enough to kind of fit it through as he was able to beat them out. And, GMU now going on that quadruple match point like we were talking about. UTSA, they looked really good in that game and something that we really haven't seen this entire series, but at the end of the day, the wins are what matters, and they got to get 4 of them to try to get this back, and George Mason only needs 1.
Shout out Roxy, though, on the goal line, made 8 saves. I think Roxy is probably the biggest reason why that game went on so long. And we essentially avoided a sweep, even if George Mason does end up sweeping, since we have played almost 5 games of Rocket League, because UTSA, they were doing everything they could to extend things in Game 3. But, okay, well, never mind. I'll ignore the miss, because Salt eventually got the save. I hope they can keep up that level of defense now in Game 4 and can give us a show later on in the set.
Yeah, and, I mean, the defense has been strong, but we also want to see offense out of them. They've had a lot of strong offensive plays, but it just feels like every single time that they get something solo, they're not as confident with it. So they got to try to resort to the, passing plays. And I'm not saying that necessarily that's a bad thing, because passing plays always do and tend out, working best for them. As you see right here, he's trying to get one there, but Salt not able to reach it. But if they want to win this game, it's going to rely on at least one of these players kind of stepping up and showing that they can do something in the solo field. But so far, we haven't really seen any of them step up, except for, like you said, Roxy on the defense.
I'm with you, because the solo plays are good at creating a little bit of space, but it's not like defense-breaking solo plays on the ball. So those passes are important, and Jay stops a big one from UTSA. I think that was on target. He was able to get in the way. Now Salt, 100 boost, will contest Jay at the midfield line, and that is a big 51, and subsequent challenge too. Jay is on a tear at the moment on Manfield Night, although George Mason is still scoreless.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we really haven't seen a minute and a half in. No goals scored so far. Usually GMU gets the first goal, and maybe UTSA, they're looking to change that, or maybe they're looking to own goal. Assault was trying to play one back to Nico, I think, but because of the demo chase was a little awkward. And GMU, again, being the terrorizers on this half of the field, just putting as much pressure as they can on to this UTSA side. But they're holding strong. Salt, trying to create some space, and again, another passing play coming out. Roxy goes for the double, but doesn't get it. The pass, the shot. Nico putting one home off the demo. Just a great play. Salt leaving that for Roxy. Roxy falls down and gets a great demo. JM also got bumped on the shot. I don't know if that was on purpose. Probably not, but Nico finally gets the goal that UTSA needed to get them a lead in this, at least one of these games in the series. We haven't seen them hold a single lead. This is something that could maybe turn the tides for them.
Solid play there. UTSA finally showed us what they can do in counterattack mode, and it nets them a lead, but there is a lot of time to defend this lead. And already, 2 blue cars have been bested. Make it 3. Nico's all alone on the goal line. Adapt flicks far side for the goal. 1-1. Just like that, George Mason answer back.
Yeah, what is it to George Mason if they're like, yeah, we went down a goal, but might as well get it back? Because, like we said, their offensive pressure, realistically, they're the better offensive team, and we know that they can do stuff. And it looks like they've kind of relied more on the solo plays rather than UTSA, so we're talking about a team that is strong in their solo plays versus a team that's strong in their passing plays. And so far, we've seen the solo plays kind of prevail, especially with Dev. We've seen how strong he can be, especially in that first game where he had, 4 goals on 3 shots. So don't always assume that the team that passes more is going to be the one that wins, even though realistically, if you play better as a team, you're going to be the team you're playing against.
Makes sense. So that pass did not connect, so there's some passing game points lost for UTSA. Roxy will make up for it. But Adapt with some space on the ball. Just bang it down the field as Dev there to chase, and that is right on target. Okay, that is a way more effective corner play than I thought it was going to be. Adapt just sends it long, and Dev outdoes Nico, and it's 2-1 George Mason, just like that.
Hey, when in doubt, if you're the first man, challenge it out. That's what I say. Might as well put some pressure onto that half, especially if they don't have great control of the ball. And Dev playing that just so perfectly as he gets a good enough challenge to send that one home. And realistically, I know he was just trying to get one over the defense, but, you know, it's the best of both worlds for him. He gets a beat and it goes in the net. So win-win for them, and now they're up 2-1 in this game 4. That could potentially be the sweep as the passing plays coming out. We talked so much about the solo plays, but they know how to pass and score as well as a 1-2 play. Dev, he sees the wide open man on the right and Adapt, and he's able to barely put that one home behind Salt as he couldn't reach it.
Great field vision by Dev right there, but shout out to Adapt for moving upfield immediately after the midfield play ended. Like, he was on the ball there, it was over, had the ball taken from him, but didn't think that his job was done in offense. Instead, found the open space, Dev found him, and he nailed the shot. Credit to Salt for almost saving that missile of a ball on target, but still, great offense from George Mason. Adapt is slotting in so nicely right now, and I love to see that because I like seeing my face more in my Rocket League client.
I agree. I mean, like you said, that profile picture, even though it was only released an hour ago, Adapt repping it well, because if I had that kind of motivation, you know, you wake up, load up Rocket League in the morning, the first thing you see in the bottom left corner is that profile picture of you with a snowman. I mean, I would be grinding 120 plus every 2. But I mean, UTSA, you can't count them out either, because shoot, they might have one in their background that you just can't see. BetBig, they might be looking at that profile picture to kind of giving them some hope, as a nice read from Salt's going to put that one home behind pretty much no defenders in the net for GMU.
Yeah, that's what I use my third monitor for, just having bonus pictures of me up on screen. But maybe that's what got them the second goal. Maybe it's just they're pretty good at coming back, because this is now 2 consecutive games that UTSA has staged the beginnings of a comeback. But history's been broken already. That is clean from Adapt.
Yeah, I mean, again, Adapt trying to show off the mechanical abilities he has in this opening, and he does it well there as he goes for that flip reset and gets a little bit of a reverse musty, and it's just going to work out as he puts that one top right, as no one's going to be able to read it for UTSA. So 45 seconds left, 2-goal lead. UTSA need at least one, I would say, within the next 15 to 20 seconds to keep them alive, because if you get in that territory where it's like 10 seconds left and you're still down by 2, even if you get a goal, you're now forcing yourself to get a kickoff goal, which is not the best time in order to tie that game up.
Still, though, they might not have a choice. Jay has backed them all the way up with a solo play, but double commit is put now UTSA in a decent position, and Jay is boostless, but still comes up with a big touch off the backboard of GMU to clear the zone and waste more time. This needs to be a goal now. The bump's been missed. Nico doesn't make contact with the ball, and Salt on target will beat Adapt there on the goal line. And don't look now, Skyline. UTSA is still kicking.
Yeah, I mean, I know you said that this isn't the situation you want to be in, but realistically, as of right now, this is the situation UTSA wants to, because it gives them that lifeline that they need. Now they just got to rely on themselves to be able to create enough pressure and get an angle on this goal within the next 5 seconds. But GMU keeping control, and they're just going to try to do everything they can to get it down on the ground as a throw's going to come out. Jam playing it back to the other half, but it might not work out as the passes come in. The shot goes out. You can't reach it in the top left, so now Adapt getting the cut. Is it going to hit the ground or the corner? It hits the ground. George Mason for a win. UTSA barely not able to get that one home.
They had to earn that, though. I mean, it was a sweep, yes, but George Mason had to earn it after game 1, I think. Games 2 through 3, I mean, a 1-0, then an overtime, and then that finish to the series. GG's all around, UTSA. No Turinturo tonight, but man, Roxy was kind of a standout player for me. Salt and Nico were consistently good, but Roxy really, it felt like when they stepped up, both defensively and offensively, that was when UTSA was competitive with George Mason. And it makes sense, you have to have a full 3 to keep up with the full 3 of George Mason, but credit to Roxy for really getting UTSA some opportunities there, and credit to Salt and Nico for staying consistent.
Oh yeah, shout out to all of them. I mean, they played insane. Like you said, it is a sweep, but it doesn't really show the whole story. Maybe in game 1 it kind of shows, but games 2 through 4 was a whole different story with how these teams kind of separated themselves. And I'm excited to see what they can do with Turinturo. because if they have turned her on their roster and you have any two of those three realistically on there, I feel like it's a whole different story. And George Mason, it might go from a sweep for them to a possible game 7, maybe even a
Yeah.
UTSA winning sooner. So, you can't really count them out just by what you saw on the field tonight.
All right, speaking of which, we're halfway through Tuesday Night Lights Skyline. I know this is the one series you're doing with me, but we've got Bruton Parker versus Michigan State next, and then KSU versus Oklahoma to cap off the night. And before you leave the booth, I would like to request 2 different predictions from you for both of these final 2 series.
Okay, so putting me on the spot with these.
Yeah, a little bit. You better be right.
Yeah, so I mean, I gotta stick with the boys that we know and love out of Georgia. Burton Parker, I have faith in them. Obviously, they took us out in the grand finals of SEL last season, so I gotta rely on the boys in the orange and blue to take home against Michigan State, even though Michigan State has been very dominant recently.
Mm-hmm.
And then that Kennesaw State versus Oklahoma, I gotta rely on my man Dylan. Dude's insane, especially with the addition of Shady, like we were talking about. Dude's rank A now, did insane playing with Melodic and Zath, making it to day 3. I just don't think that there's anyone stopping the Kennesaw State roster, excuse me. So I think both the Georgia teams take it home tonight, and Oklahoma and Michigan State are kind of forced to go back to the drawing board.
Okay, favoring the Southeast. It makes sense. Oklahoma's too far out central, and obviously Michigan State is a Great Lakes roster. So I appreciate the SEL bias, but we'll see what happens a little bit later on in the show. Skyline, I appreciate you joining me.
Oh, and I appreciate you having me. Like you said, it's the first time I'm on Tuesday Night Lights. I've enjoyed watching them, Bepic. You do a great job, and I'm excited for these rest of the matches, not only for tonight, but for the weeks ahead.
I appreciate it, and good luck to your season, playing and casting. We'll see you in both roles going forward. I'm excited for it, but Michigan State, Bruton Parker in prime time on Tuesday Night Lights number 2 coming up in 17 minutes time. I'm going to play my preview video in the meantime and play some ads as well, which again I do apologize for, but it's a necessary evil. Enjoy the break. I will see you all in a little bit.